How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting and welcome back to ReWrite. So we're kind of just ramping. We got Kotori, she's struggling. We had an opportunity to kind of get some more recon done, but that's because there's another group out there that somehow is able to easily take out the green dragon vine creature, which just is, that's almost worse, because we don't know what their motives are either. We can't really leave. We did some practice and tried some training last week. Didn't go so great. So again, like, it's funny because like up until now, we've felt so powerful. Kotoru's been very like strong. But now we're awakening into a world where we're not that strong. In fact, one of like Kotori's smaller kind of crippled minions was still kind of a fight. And then we fought against Chibimath, and he was just destroying us. We finally got like a successful hit in at the very end. We can barely wield the Aurora we have. We don't really understand how it works. And yet we're still so seemingly so outclassed at all angles. So it's like, what do? He wants to help. He like can't. It's really kind of a weird place to be, especially when he's been so consistently worried about him pushing himself too far and being too strong to be able to have a normal life. And yet now it feels like he can't do that. And there's a worry that if he pushes himself too much, he could just kind of explode, because he's like, apparently, like, she equated it to a familiar, which I'm still thinking, like, I think he might be part familiar, essentially. Like organs and stuff that were destroyed in him have been, like replaced with a piece of ribbon and other, like, fake tissue. And so part of that, and that's part of why he can, like, enhance himself. But the more he enhances himself, the more off-kilter he becomes, and the more off-center, and eventually he could push it so hard that his body would no longer be capable. Like, if his muscles get so strong they start ripping his bones apart, he won't be able to move. You know, that kind of thing. So, yeah, that'll be fun. Anyway, let's jump in and see what we're going to do. Because, yeah, tonight I was going to do stuff with a friend. Friend didn't have it show up, and so I'm just going to record a video because, you know, I don't want to go to bed yet. And I had a pretty useless day otherwise, so let's do something productive. Anyway. The situation requires proper scouting. We don't have the leeway to rely on predictions anymore. I want to become strong. Like a superhero from a comic book. Though I know that's impossible. If I just had a year. If I could have spent more time in this kind of environment and built up exercise. All I have at the moment is a mountain of regrets. Instead of thinking about what could have been, I have to focus on doing what I can. Yeah, what's that saying? It's one of my favorite sayings. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. It's like, yeah, it'd be great if you could have a tree already growing where you want it to be right now. But if you just sit there and think about, oh, I wish I'd done it, you never actually get it done when you could. Chibi Moth stands by my feet looking up at me. Chibi, help me out for a bit.
Mush.
Yes. I'm back.
お疲れ。特訓はどうだった？
It was more to make myself feel better than anything.
一朝一夕にはどうしてもね。
Yeah. Tell me about it. Kotori has a peaceful expression on her face, like that of a mother looking over her rowdy child. Aww. I can tell that she doesn't consider me an asset. Not that I can blame her. At that moment, the leaf bird lands on Kotori's hand. You send it out again.
3度目にて候。
I'm not seeing the camera, though.
飛ぶタイプの魔物じゃバランス崩しちゃって無理だった。
Yeah, like, even if you're doing a mechanical version, like the drones we use to be able to have and operate a camera, they have 4 propeller blades, because I don't think a bird would be able to, like, hold a camera. You'd have to give it, like, a small camera, like a GoPro. But remember, this story was written and supposedly takes place before that was a thing, so, yeah.
別の使い方を考えるよ。
Kotori embraces the leaf bird with her hands. That's probably how she scans it for information.
強砲。
Uh-oh. Her peaceful expression is gone in an instant.
この辺り一帯の森に魔物が大量に放たれてる。すごい数。空を飛ぶのもいるね。
Oh boy. Why so suddenly?
敵対勢力の排除。大物がやられちゃったから大ごとになったんだと思う。
So, we're hiding in the forest, but the forest is inadvertently ground zero for all of the summoners and everyone else. Like, they probably know there's something, like, important here in the forest. And they would love to know where it is, but they don't actually know where it is. They just happen to all be running around fighting each other right next to us. And so it's like the chances of someone stumbling in here are really slim, but like they're not zero. And that's not good. This opposing faction is strange. From what I could see, they were just normal people. What if they're actually with the government or something? The Japanese MIB, Men in Black. And they're fighting the MIR, Men in Robes.
それと、やっぱり、鍵を狙ってるんだろうね。
Both sides, probably. How many beasts did your bird spot?
数えきれないくらいの反応だった。
Bitch. Oh no.
10分歩けば、エンカウントしちゃうくらいの密度だ。
Now we really can't leave. Like, at all. Even trying to could be really bad. Sounds like a real-life RPG. Maybe I should go and farm some experience. You idiot. No!
死ぬされる。
I'll be deaded, huh?
あと、森の外れの方に引き上げていく強い反応があった。
Like what?
あれは、敵対勢力なんだと思う。
So they had to retreat, maybe? They looked like a small infiltration force, so they may have retreated.
困ったことになったよ。制空権も取られちゃったし、魔物を広範囲に分布されると、まずいことが判明しちゃう。
Crap. What do you mean?
魔物をいっぱい離すと、地図上では、この工房のところだけぽっかりと空白になるの。
Yeah, so it's all about like getting enough detailed information. Like, if you can specify enough, eventually you'll find the gap where people just don't seem to be able to perceive.
結界は、外からの侵入も拒むから。
I guess you can mess with their senses, but you can't do anything about the actual geography.
隠蔽する神通力が働いている。そのことに気づかれたらアウトだろうね。
Because once they know they're looking for it, they'll be able to find the signs. Because normally the way it kind of wards is kind of a, like I think I've described it before. It's like somebody else's problem field from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, or technically Restaurant at the End of the Universe. Is the way that they hit a ship in plain sight was that it had a field that didn't like obscure it really. It just meant that as soon as your eyes like tracked to it before you actually consciously thought about it, you'd immediately get distracted. Essentially, for that one, it was saying like, you know what, I don't need to bother with that. It's essentially the same thing that makes you just ignore like homeless people, unfortunately. Just the stuff that makes it so you block it away from your mental like focus. That's kind of how her magic of deflection and barrier works. It just makes them all just kind of, they find another reason to move on, and their thoughts slide away from like recognizing it. But if they know there's something hiding there, they're going to be able to force through that fog.
考えなきゃ。
Need help? Kotori returns to her working space while mumbling something under her breath. What about dinner? Doesn't look like she can hear me. I gather some white fruit in the field and bring them to Kotori. I find her staring and moaning at a map. A bunch of pins shaped like animals encircling a round area of it. That's probably the workshop. That's a wide circle large enough to cover an area the size of our school. We can't move away from the power spot. And since familiars only relay vague information, it's difficult to get a grasp of the actual status. That doesn't sound like a good situation to be in. Yeah, unfortunately, information is 90% of war. But that's nothing I can do. I have to give my all as her emotional support. I can't find the words to say to her. I end up leaving without saying anything. I find the key playing with Chibi Moth. They're playing, or rather... They're staring at each other. The key and Chibi Moth seem to have picked the same twig at the same time. They're stuck in a staring contest. The two of them are frozen in place, but it's clearly not from embarrassment. From the look of it, one's hand and the other's trunk is trembling. They're actually fighting. If they were human, either one of them would let it go, or they'd try to solve the problem with words. But not familiars. They can focus only on one action at a time. This is probably something like a bug in a computer. That proves they aren't really alive. They're both pulling the twig towards them, but there's no animosity between them. Or goodwill, for that matter. Since familiars have no soul, they're kind of like robots. Is there any meaning to the interaction between robots? I would say eventually, but not base robots, no. Seeing them like this definitely makes you realize they don't possess anything like human consciousness. The key always acts randomly, without clear direction. Its eyes wander from one thing to another. From a human perspective, it looks kind of strange, or rather, like there's something wrong with its head. Well, that's probably not far from the truth. But then, at rare times, when it actually focuses on something, I can catch a glimpse of deep intelligence in its eyes. The key looks like a human. Apparently, it looks like that from the moment it was born from the depths of the earth. If it really is the planet's representative or messenger, the fact that it looks like a human means the planet is aware of us. If it's a messenger, who's the message for? Yeah, if it can't communicate with us, how is it supposed to send us a message? That could only be humanity. The key was sent here to watch us. But what exactly does the planet want to know? No one knows that. Hey, McChibi, stop that meaningless fighting already.
Mo!
Chibi Moth trots over to me after I call his name. He looks like a laid-back creature, but his dutifulness is like that of a machine. Was what I just did equivalent to removing a foreign object from the mechanism of a wind-up toy? Come over here too, Key. And it really does. Seems like it figured out what hearing its own name meant. There's nothing we can do, so let's just mind our own business so we don't cause trouble for Kotori. Turn. It lost interest, so it's already wandering off. Wait! But before my extended hand can come in contact with it. Splack! The ribbon knocks me away in a very keep your hands off, fool fashion. It was a hostile action. I contained no animosity at all. Yet the key's ribbon slapped my hand away as though it was something filthy. What does that mean? I try sticking my hand out to it again. It knocked away again. Come on, you can't let me touch you at least a little? I try for the third time. The key's ribbon suddenly wraps around me. Then it pulls me up, suspending me in the air. Uh-oh. This looks like a one-armed shoulder throw. Ah! I slammed it to the ground. Ah! You treating me like a molester or something? Oh, so it really isn't an automatic defense system. Okay, calm down. Calm down. I'm not trying to harm you. It's just that you're gonna go get in Kotori's way if you go over there, so why don't we stay over here and play some cricket like the upstanding citizens we are? I extend my hand toward it again. Ah! I end up flying through the air again. Ow, you little... Now I'm pissed. Touching it with my hand is a problem? Then what about this? I activate my aura with my back still against the ground. This is gonna be interesting. The membrane that erupts from my wrist wriggles across the ground like a snake, reaching the key's foot and wrapping around its ankle. Fall! Slash. Ugh! My aurora definitely managed to reach the key, but the moment it tried to wrap around it, the key's ribbon suddenly became sharp and severed it. The key's power is probably the origin of my power as well. Apparently, it can change its damage type from blunt to sharp at will. You're darn strong. It looks like a person, has some sort of camouflage power, and even has an auto-defense mechanism. All those are obviously designed for self-preservation. The key isn't that kind of being you can have a conversation with. It's not designed to communicate with mankind. Suddenly it turns to me again. What? By having been so utterly defeated, I've lost my motivation to play with it anymore. It's not someone you can communicate with. And I have no way of defending myself if I find myself on the wrong end of one of those cutting attacks. Okay. So, it's a paradox. It's in a human shape. Like he said, it means the planet's aware of humanity, at least in form. The key's job is to be sent as a watcher and a guardian and a messenger. Essentially, it's meant to say something, to observe something, and accomplish something. Like those are the three kind of directives it has, right? However, if it's meant to be a messenger, why can't it communicate with us? If it's meant to be an observer, why would the druids want to guard it and prevent it from going anywhere? And if it has a task that it's supposed to accomplish, why isn't it doing it? Why didn't it do it way a long time ago before Kotori restrained it in here? It's just bizarre. There's got to be a reason for it, but like the biggest one to me is the fact that if it's supposed to be some kind of messenger and it's taken the form of a human in order to, well, I would assume, to make it more likely that humanity would actually pay attention. And yet it doesn't talk or have any means of communicating. Is it supposed to learn how to communicate? And if so, how? Because it doesn't respond to anything. I'm done. I brush the dirt off my clothes and stand up. What is it? You want to play now? I'm sorry, but you missed your chance. I don't pick fights I can't win. That's how smart people live.
人。
Oh, you spoke again. You should probably remember that word. People, that's us. I pointed myself.
人。
The key points at a tree. No, that's tree. People means beings like me. You pointed the wrong direction. I tried directing its finger at myself. Ah! I fly about 3 meters into the air. Jeez, it could have been hurt if I hadn't rewritten myself. The key points at me.
時間。
You don't need to remember that word. Are you trying to say it's not okay to touch girls?
当たり前
Like how that woke her up. Ah! I trip over my own feet as someone hits my head from behind. Kotori, you shouldn't judge the situation just from that one line.
どう聞いてもセクハラだった。
Uh-huh. Come on, listen to me. The key keeps throwing me around just trying to touch it.
何を告発したいのかさっぱりわからない。鍵なりに学習したんじゃない？この人エロいから嫌って。
You know what? It might actually be thinking that, in a weird way. I'm innocent.
鍵の学習能力は高い。
I suppose it should, having been sent to watch our civilization and all.
そうなの？どうしてそう思うの？
I mean, it looks like a person, so it can blend in with us, no? And its skills, one to conceal it, another to defend it from threats, they all sound designed to hide in our society. I think it's observing us. You know how newborn calves can stand and walk right away, right? I think the key's learning capabilities follow the same general idea, so that way it can blend in as soon as possible.
そうだとして、学習して、どうするんだろうかね。
I'm glad. I literally was just asking these questions, and now we're talking about it. That's great. I have no idea, but if it's an objective that is salvation, as you say, it's probably saving us or something, right? I mean, just look how tough it is.
救済か。
Kotori lets out a breath.
救済されたい。
Would you like a nice rub from these hands of mine? No! Shoulder rub! Shoulder rub! Kotori hurriedly hides her breast. No! I was talking about your shoulders! A massage! Come on, stop with the molester jokes. You can get arrested for just hearing that word on a train. You don't seem well rested, so I was trying to suggest you take a break in a roundabout way.
休みたいな。
You can use me as your servant, Kotori. I'll do my best, even if I've got more energy if I know what to do with. So please stop treating me like a guest.
あんがと。でも、やってもらえることってないんだ。それにこの遅れは、私がサボってたせいだから、自分で解決しなきゃ。
Is she saying goofing off was, hanging out with us in the ROS? Is it ROS? Like, ORS, not ROS. What's ROS? I have no idea. You were goofing off?
学校行ったりしちゃってさ。
I think that's pretty normal to go to school. Are druids that busy?
10年かければ、森全体を支配することもできるんだ。
Whoa.
今は工房くらいの施設と広さしかないけど、頑張れば要塞にだってできたの。
That's actually kind of cool to think about.
鍵を守って助けるための。
Doesn't look like it needs much protection, though.
生まれたばかりは、それでもやっぱり弱いんだよ。そういうところを狙われたりすると、あっけなくやられちゃうこともあるそうな。
Okay, so it's still just in its like pupa state. Okay. That's making a lot more sense now. So it has means of defending itself. Wonder if they've had issues in the past, which is why it has to have these automatic defenses. And it's learning, but it's a process that can't be rushed. Oh, fetch me. It does that all the time. Huh. You can actually destroy it.
宿り木の記憶によると、あるんだって。人間だけが鍵を殺すことができる。
Dang. I feel something very profound with those words. That said, it still doesn't sound like a very wise plan. The word Godslayer pops into my mind and quickly fades away. A taboo that should never have been infringed upon. Just humans? What about big animals?
人間は狩猟がうまい生き物だからね。
It's true. I mean, look at what we've done to nature and the world.
動物としては最も弱い部類。それでいて、狩猟者としてはライオンよりも狼よりも強い。
That's not even to mention modern technology. Like, the ribbons can defend her, but could they stop bullets? Like, they've been fast, but are they that fast? Might not be. But I thought you said that most people can't see the key.
たまにいる。 私や小太郎くんみたいに、長い歴史の中で、人は何度か鍵を殺してきてる。
Why, though? And that's why it needs our protection? How are you protecting it up until now?
この10年近く、鍵は行方不明だったんだよ。
Really? Huh? You never mentioned that.
最近になって現れた。実は、小太郎くんの家に行った時、うすうす感じ取ってはいたんだけど、
Right.
見て見ぬふりしてた。
Why?
学校、辞めたくなかったから。
The duties of a druid are a lot heavier than I ever thought. To have to give up their entire life. The price of power,
鍵が
unfortunately.
旅をするなら、ドルイドは付き従う。根付くなら、守りを固める。そういう、宿り人の契約。
Okay, so take root. Like, what does that mean? Because take root can typically just mean like, oh, this is my home now. But like, this is a part of the planet. It might just be a giant seed or something. I don't know.
引き換えに、ドルイドには奇跡の力が与えられる。
Yeah, risk, reward, power, price, responsibility. It might have been pretty cool in the past, but it doesn't sound like a good idea in modern times.
でも、鍵はいる。そして奇跡はある。実際に、私の手に。
Yeah, it's like it'd be nice, but the fact is the key's here. The fact is I have this power. Facts are, this has got to happen.
無視は、できないよ。
Kotori's shoulders slump. She's probably doing her best to put up with it. If this job requires so much of her that she had to quit school, it must be hard to endure. Kotori, who was serious and diligent to the bone whenever it counted. Kotori could never abandon a job halfway through. I wanted to ease her burden from the bottom of my heart, like I'd never before. Would you like me to lend you something, since I'm not allowed to touch you and all?
何？
My back? I turn around. Might not be a back you can rely on for anything, but you can lean against it.
借りよっかな。
Aww. Go ahead. I feel something pressed up against me. The weight of one girl. That's pretty much everything as far as I is concerned. Oh, Kotori, no. Fetch me! Just this image is horrifyingly sad. She might be able to suppress her voice, but her feelings still show. Every single voiceless moan from hers runs across my skin like a wave. What can I say to this poor girl? Listen, just don't for a while, okay? You given her a chance to have like a snuggle up with another person who cares, but in a way that she doesn't feel like she's actually unloading. You know, if you were staring at her or hugging her, that would change this. And that's not what she needs right now. She just needs to just be a person. Because she hasn't been able to, she's been a druid for so long and then so focused lately, like she hasn't had a chance to just process the burden on her shoulders. This is what's so interesting. So like, there's a lot of talk right now about like you can talk about Andrew Tate and all that stuff, but it's spreading around a lot of other things. So like, it's talk about proper masculinity. We've seen kind of like a pendulum swing where at first it felt like a lot of our culture was pushing on this idea that like, you know, you don't have to be a manly man. It's toxic to feel like you have to be a manly man. Like, just be who you want to be, experience emotion, express yourself. And that is good and important. And then you're seeing kind of a backswing where like kind of like there's a cultural rejection of that idea and this propagation of like all being masculine and being like assertive and putting in your place and doing all that stuff. But here's the thing. They're both right and they're both wrong. I don't really care what you think, and like there's not a lot of debate. I can get into this, but here's the thing. People are people. None of us are the same. All of us have roles that we accept. There's no role we should have to lead. Sometimes you do, though. Because you know what? Here's the thing. I'm the oldest son in my family. I have the most stability in my family. If my dad suddenly falls incredibly ill, has no plan or structure set up to be able to like take care of himself, I'm going to step up and take care of him. It's not that I have to, but there's nobody else who can. It's not that it's the most important thing in the world, or it could be. But that's the thing, is like, if I were to just try and stick him in a home, no one would call me evil for it. Maybe uncaring, maybe disrespectful, but I'd have that right. But if I chose instead to take on his burdens because of all the great burdens he took upon from me when I was growing up, if out of a sense of love and devotion to who I am, what I am, and the people in my life, if I choose that, that's important. And that's what I mean. Masculine, feminine, male, female, I don't think it really matters. What really matters is the individual's ability to make that choice and to stick with it. The ability to respect that choice that people make, and the ability to recognize that you are who you are, and no one owes you anything. You should not expect anyone to owe you anything. You have to own your choices and accept the consequences of them. And there's a power and beauty to that, regardless of whether or not you fall on the spectrum of Andrew Tate or like whatever the other side of that would be. I'm not sure. You need to understand more before you accept anything else, in my opinion, that you are an individual and that everyone else is just as valid an individual as you, and that they should be respected as such. It should never be something you feel like you can force your will or your desires on other people. I think that could ultimately becomes evil, whether it's a parent for a child, whether it's a brother for a sister, or a spouse for a spouse, or a father or a mother for a child, or society as a whole for an individual. It's nice when those things are right. It's great and wonderful and amazing when we feel like we can be supported by our family and by our friends and by society as a whole. But reality isn't often that rose-colored tinted. We are living in a world where we have the most peace we've ever experienced as a culture. Even with all the craziness of war and death that is out there, the majority of humanity is in a far better place than our ancestors ever were. And amongst that, we see when we aren't facing survival conflict and direct warfare and a fight to eat every day, it seems like we have to find other reasons to fight each other and to have other reasons to be upset with each other, for other reasons to have to struggle. And I think that that's part of human life. But again, I think it's important to understand that it works both ways. You can't demand people treat you a certain way without offering that same respect back. You can't demand to be supportive of an individual and expect them to just accept it because you're there. That's a mentality that leads to nice guys, nice girls syndrome. This idea that because I'm nice, I'm owed something. That attitude is toxic. It's and because I behave a certain way, I should get certain things. Like if I behave super masculinely, I should be getting all these ladies. No. If I express myself emotionally, that everyone will accept that. No. If I come out to my family as someone on the spectrum LGBTQ plus or whatever, you should be accepted, but it doesn't always happen. That doesn't invalidate you or what you stand for. And neither does it invalidate your duty to respect others just as much as you wish to be respected yourself. So wherever you fall in these lines, wherever you see with Kotori and Kotori here, this relationship here, I think this is kind of encapsulating this concept, this idea that sometimes you just need to be a person, and sometimes you just need to respect other people as people. And if you can just grasp and hold on to that, it's often going to lead you down a decently right path and help you find the compassion necessary to navigate, to help find the courage to stand up for yourself, but also to stand up for others. It's really weird that I'm talking about this right here, but it's just hitting me right now. It's just it's been on my mind, I think, for the past several days. Of how I don't think there's any one side is right, one side is wrong. I'm not a fan of Tate because of a lot of stuff he does, but the thing is mixed in with a lot of his hypocrisy, lies, and misconceptions, there are truths there. And you can't discredit that because the truths are independent of the voice who speaks them. There were a lot of people who were against the idea of a sun-centric solar system. They put people to death for that because they thought it was improper and it went against what the Bible was teaching them or what they thought the Bible was teaching them. That didn't change the fact that the Earth is not the center of our solar system or the universe, just because you don't want to hear it. And that's the thing. You can't just look at bad guys, good guys, black, white. You can't do that. As soon as you start doing that, you're going to fall into these traps. And so it's important to be able to understand that there's truth out there from everywhere, and there's lies out there from everywhere. And ultimately, sometimes what you need to be for another person isn't what you think. Kotori wants to be a partner to Kotori. He wants to be in a relationship with her. He wants to be able to support and to help her. But the truth is, she can't do that right now. She has no room for a relationship right now. She has no use that she can put him in, even if she definitely wanted to, and she frankly doesn't. She wants to keep him safe. She doesn't want him risking himself knowing what's out there. And Kotori's finally doing the right thing here, where he said, all right, I'm accepting where you need me to be, and I'm going to be the best I can at that. By being a back, they can let you just be yourself again. It's beautiful. And the thing is it's what's beautiful about it is that it's no longer about him for asking her to make him be something. It's about him saying, I'm this. Do what you want with it. That's how I think we all need to be. I'm me, and whatever me is needs to become the focus of what we say and how we offer ourselves in the world. And we don't demand people treat us a certain way because of who we say we are. And instead, we provide the opportunity for them to do so and accept when they do. I can't think of anything to say. Kotori's trying to take everything on her shoulders, and I'm unable to support any of that weight. I don't lack the will to help, but I'm short on power. We probably don't have time. The situation's so urgent, there's nothing we can accomplish even if we rush. Just what am I? All I do is hang around, like the moon. A satellite merely circling around Earth. That's not true though, the moon does a lot for Earth, even if it's just there circling. Ah, so that's how it feels. I want to turn around and embrace her, but I can't. It mirrors the uncertain distance between of our relationship. I've heard the moon always faces Earth from the same angle. Perhaps I too will only ever be able to face Kotori with my back like this. I've already learned that I can't shine my feelings on her from the front. Her first word in a while grazed my ear. Kotori? Her forehead presses against my back. Part of her hates the key because of what it did to her life. It's that same bitterness too. Like I talked about, like if my dad falls under ill health, or like imagine having it if you have a child who's like severely autistic or handicapped somehow. It takes a dream of what you always imagined your life could be, and it kind of restricts it in a way. And kind of the reality I'm facing is chronic illness. Like a good example too is like Iron Mouse, you know? Yeah, she's a really successful streamer, but like, have you ever seen the streams that she ends up having to do? Her health is so poor, she literally can't leave her room. She gets horrifically sick if she even comes in contact with a cold. She has to live in a bubble and at arm's length even from her family. And so she does things like goes on tours for places that she's always wished she could go, virtually with her friends. Like Connor, or Connor VA, I think it is, or Sea-Dog VA. He takes her on streams to places she can't ever go. Because the thing is, like, her condition, it's not one that can get better at this point. Maybe someday. But right now, she's staring at a life in a room and that nothing else happens. She's been one of the lucky who's been able to find a powerful outlet in community. But even if she has the most popular, biggest community in the world, it doesn't change the fact that she has to face that reality and that there's nothing she can do about it. Kotori is kind of the same. She's had to accept a responsibility she knows she can't forego, but the selfish part of her wishes she could. That's such a human thing, though.
は何？私にとって結果って、それは一体何？だってよ。
Is she asking us to?
結果になってよ。あなたが私の生きた証。
I feel even more weight on my back, her nails digging into my flesh. All my hair standing on end. She's actually talking about it now. I shiver. Anger, joy, grief. I'm swept up in a whirlpool of emotions. Up until now, Kotori's always tried to deflect my feelings. Even when I confessed. Even when we were surrounded by the gentlest atmospheres. Kotori was making sure she wouldn't have anything. Because she was scared. Scared that her mission would someday swallow up her life and everything she possessed. And that's why she decided not to love anything. To distance herself from everything. To not get close with anyone. But she can no longer deny it. That she's someone I love. Kotori tried to become cold and failed utterly.
他に何があるっていうの？私に他に選択肢があったの？
I think she did. There's always a choice, even if it feels like not. The choices just often aren't the kind we can make. When you're facing chronic illness, you don't choose if you get it. You don't choose. There's not like a medicine that you just haven't done or some kind of hoop you can jump through. But you can choose to just move forward, or you can choose to collapse in, push out, or embrace darkness. The trouble is that those choices are just as horrible and hard as the one it is to just keep moving forward. Kotori, you have a choice. You have a lot of choices. But I think if you made any other choice, it would haunt you for the rest of your life and would be far worse. And I think she knows that.
わかったよ。
I put my hand on hers as she clings to my shoulders. I feel hot. My heart emanates searing heat. This accumulated thermal energy demands I make a move, ordering me to act, to run, to become a product of mass and velocity. But I order myself not to rush, to keep that power for a special occasion. There's no point running in blindly. I have to put some thought into where you end up. I have to wait for the right moment. The feelings raging inside me can't be suppressed with mere rational thought. I want to cry out and act right now, explode here and now. As such, to momentarily contain myself, I make a promise that I will definitely run one day. That's a deal with myself. There will become a day where I have to put everything on the line and break into a mad dash in the near future. But it won't be poorly thought out act of the moment, like wishing to protect Kotori without a clear plan. This will mark proof of my resolve, to set the direction and the method of my dash. After all, I'm just an average person. I haven't transcended mortality. There will probably only be one time I can go all out. I bite my lip. Her sobs continue shredding my heart to pieces. Mine too, dang it. I stand firm with my face turned away. Good man. That night, I leave Kotori after she finally falls asleep and, sitting down on the stump chair, begin to experiment with my aurora. I've decided to stop thinking of it as a weapon. It's a tool, a useful item. I'll use it to increase my chances of escape, not hurt people. Why did I even think of it as a weapon to begin with? The most important thing for a tool is its versatility, and this thing definitely doesn't lack in that department. Should be able to save our skins in a whole variety of different situations. Keeping that in mind, I resolved myself to use it more flexibly. I'll use it better. I'll use it rationally. I'll change a small amount of my aurora into a hook. Satisfied by its sturdiness, I promptly release it and focus on a different shape. needle, ball, stick. I come up with one thing after another. I still don't have a concrete use in mind for these, but at the moment I'm just running through random ideas and seeing what sticks. And since I'm only using Aurora in minor quantities, I don't feel particularly exhausted either. Before I know it, the key's intently staring at my hands. Does it want the Aurora back? Looking it over, I doubt it remembers actually giving this to me. It seems that I can only comprehend that it used to be a part of it. I'm sorry, but I can't give this back. It's going to become even more important to us from now on. Besides, I'm finally starting to figure out how to use it. I stick my hand out toward a nearby tree and deploy the Aurora. This time, a small cylinder of light sprays from my wrist. Interestingly enough, it's the same area where robots hide machine guns inside the games. Sorry for using video games as an example all the time. Since it's directly connected to my blood vessels, the glimmering membrane quickly and soundlessly splatters something forth. The next moment, countless needles dig into the tree trunk. Having been severed from my body, they quickly solidify and fall apart. It takes mere moments for them to disintegrate. Only a bunch of small holes in the trunk indicate where they ever were to begin with. I use the pressure from my arteries. Whoa, that's kind of crazy. With what might be an inquisitive look, the key turns its face from the tree trunk toward me. Its silence encourages me to speak. You used Aurora to glue me together, and I realized it made it turn into blood vessels in the process. I used arterial pressure to recreate the barrel of a gun. Apparently, I can manipulate it while I'm still in my body to some extent. And it turns out if I spray pretty far when I use it like that, then I can solidify the spray into needles for some extra damage. And then the rest goes like you saw. It's like a shotgun dealing splash damage. It's not the strongest of attacks, and needle spray isn't that dense. It's by no means lethal, but I think it might prove useful to surprise attacks and crowd control. I'm a bit curious why this ribbon of yours never seems to run out of fuel, but I guess that's part of the miracle that you are. I don't think I'll have to worry about running out of bullets for the time being. Or maybe that's just an insane amount of energy condensed into the piece that I got. It seems like this power has a tendency to coil around. I'd probably find it easier to synchronize with things that are already doing that, like blood vessels. I hear some of these ribbons are part of your body. I wonder if the fact they're trying your wrists is just a coincidence, or if I've glimpsed the truth behind how they work. Again, its eyes suddenly look intelligent. A sharp look you'd never guess belonged to a scatterbrain like this girl. Could it just be pretending in front of us? I actually don't think it's pretending. I think it's just... You know how it's easy to daydream, especially if you're bored? I think the key's just bored. She probably has a very powerfully vast mind that's probably aware of a lot of things around her all at once, maybe even throughout the whole planet. And there's nothing really that interesting to hold her attention. Her attention's just elsewhere, and she kind of goes in autonomous mode, essentially. It's like the really scary moments when like you're lost in thought when you're driving, and then you realize you've got to a location and you don't quite remember that getting there because you were just so like on autopilot. I think she's usually on autopilot, which is why she's got the glazed look. Nah, I can't imagine that. A function. It might be part of a function it's been endowed with. A function that gives it the impression of intelligence. A function for observing humans and deciding our fate. The capability to make decisions without needing experience. Just how does a child of the planet see us? Kotori's supposed to protect you, apparently. I don't really understand what you are, and I have no idea why you exist or what'll happen if we succeed. But she's doing it, so I've got no choice but to help. I hope there's at least a point to the promised salvation of yours. My breath catches in my throat as I look up the key's face. Are you laughing? What the fetch? Smile, a display of emotion. But it's not right. My senses tell me so. Sudden changes always provide space for the invasion of impurities. The key's smile is something not of this world, creating a sense of dissonance with an otherwise innocent behavior. There's an obvious intent to it. It's awfully utilitarian. The key came to this world to observe and judge, in which case the one making distinctions will become the one sorting things out. All right, keep it up. I think I heard it whisper something like that. Its wide open eyes look like uncalibrated lenses. Calibration? That's probably a good word for it. I still have no idea what the key's ultimate focus is. Kotori's probably doesn't either. Just what is it after? First, I feared it as a ghost. Then I pitied it as a girl. But now, it's the fear of the unknown. It's a thoroughly alien nature that's made my back break out in a cold sweat. The key. A being that looks like a human. But it's not a poor, sad girl at all. Far from it. I find myself slowly getting used to the hermit's life. It's starting to feel out ordinary. At times, I even start thinking that all this might pass without anything happening. We'll be able to live a life happily ever after. Though, Kotori's anxious attitude is proof enough that that kind of outcome is impossible.
Ohayo.
Hey, Kotori. Yeah. Silent breakfast. The white fruits that I thought were delicious at first have started to become tiresome. Kotori hasn't said a word about what happened yesterday. Don't. It was a moment that she will wake up and consider a moment of weakness. It's best to just pretend it didn't happen, because I think it did a lot of good, but talking about it's not going to help. She put all of her doubt and worries into words and left them out, but it doesn't seem like that made her feel much better. But at least she's regained some life thanks to getting a proper night's sleep for once. Kotori heads straight to her working area after breakfast. Whew. I replace the air in my lungs. The mood doesn't really allow for lighthearted jokes. I throw myself to the ground. Solid. I think about the town. Harvest Festival is probably proceeding as usual. Tomorrow will be Saturday, the day after tomorrow, Sunday, the last day of the festival. It gets even more packed on the weekend. Researchers, technicians, tourists, companies, government officials, etc. All sorts of events, concerts, and ceremonies will be carried out, spread as widely throughout the city as possible. They'll all be shooting fireworks, too. The last day of the Harvest Festival is always extraordinary. I'm suddenly assaulted by the sensation of feeling left out. I'll take Kotori back to that lovely normal life. I've resolved myself to that, but easier said than done, I guess. Maybe I should just run. Those aren't my own words. I heard them from Kotori's workshop a bit further off. All 5 of my senses have been enhanced. As such, I can make out whispers no human ever could hope to hear. In short, the one who said those words, there's only one suspect. The person who has it toughest here. To run. I suppose that's an option. Does only destruction lie on the path of escape? The ambiguity of the situation allows your brain to tune out from reality. The pain she's going through definitely makes giving up an option. Despite snuffling a few times, Kotori doesn't grace me with any further monologues. Kotori returns in the early afternoon.
休憩タイム。
Good work.
チョコレート余ってる？
Yeah, just a little. You can have it all if you want. The last piece. I've been keeping it saved from the foil.
ありがとう。もらう。
But despite her words, she just melancholy stares at it instead of putting it in her mouth. Maybe we should eat lunch first? Kotori, what would you like for lunch? What would you like?
ケーキ定食。
And thus, a curtain rises on a new age of sugar. I'll treat you to a cake set made from the highest grade Japanese black beef.
作って。作れるものなら。
Chocolate is made from mixing cattle blood with sugar anyway.
嘘だ。
But wait, could she make cacao? She could make a cocoa bean. We could try and make chocolate. We exchange looks and chuckle.
じゃあしばこうか。
That sounds great.
緑茶パック一つしかないよ。お譲りする。
Nah, we can make enough for 2 if we try.
頑張っちゃう。
The last green tea bag turns into 2 cups of weak tea.
薄い。
Yeah, but it still tastes good since we're drinking it together.
お祭り、見に行きたいね。
That's an awful way to start a conversation. Kotori's early statement, her current proposal, they both add up to one thing. Yeah, now's the time when everyone must be having the most fun.
楽しいと思う。約束してた取材には間に合わないかもしんないけど。
I don't care as long as it's fun.
じゃあ、行っちゃう？
Yeah, I do. Yeah?
行っちまうか！
Oh, fetch. The forest trembles while we're trying to lift our spirits with pointless conversation. Oh boy. What was that? That wasn't an earthquake. Like something huge is rampaging.
争ってる。
Oh. Alright. Kotori looks up with an expression as if she's woken from a dream. Our barrier has a hole facing the sky. A small shadow whisks above us. That's not the kind of speed a bird can maintain. Was it one of the beasts? Do you think it's noticed us?
ううん。上からでも、ここは見つからない。なんだろう。どういう状況になってるんだろう。
Sounds freaking nuts! Like it's like actual battle! Kotori bites her finger. It's a habit she's developed recently. I'm sure it's stress related.
警察、出さなきゃ。
You sure it won't have attracted any attention?
このままじゃ、把握できないままだもん。あれ、小競り合いじゃない気がするの。
Oh, it sounds like a war zone.
ねえ、鍵は？
Huh? Now that she's mentioned it, it's not anywhere in sight. But that workshop is large. There's a ton of places to hide. It must be around somewhere, right?
チビ！もし、鍵探して。
Chibimasa's charging at us, but it makes a U-turn without wasting any momentum. I'm sorry, it's my responsibility.
そういうんじゃない気がする。これ、小太郎くん、自分で掘り起こした結界の位置ってわかる？覚えてる？
Uh-oh. Yeah, if you mean the wood carvings buried in the ground anyway.
確認したいの。私、時計回り。小太郎くんは反対から。いい？
Roger. Okay, we're gonna end here. I know it's intense, but I don't want to get any caught up in more before it gets too crazy. But do I? I'm worried if I keep going now, like, I'm not gonna want to stop for like another hour, and that's really could be problematic because I'm getting tired. I only have so much energy I can do for these. I know I rambled a lot too, though. It's okay. We're gonna end here. We're gonna end here because lots is probably gonna happen next episode. So we're gonna just go ahead and take a pause at this moment. Key's missing potentially. There's a battle raging right outside our sanctuary, and yeah, it's just crazy. So, yeah, here we go, I guess. Thank you guys so much for being here today. Thank you so much for being a part of the channel. Thank you especially to patrons and members. You guys are amazing for giving me the support that helps me like make more content, get some more art, all that good stuff. Thank you for anyone who's just watching though. Like, it's so wonderful having you here. Thanks for giving me the time and letting me ramble and say my things and bits and pieces and just kind of sharing in the journey. I'm really excited to share this one, so I hope you've enjoyed it nearly as much as I enjoyed making it. But yeah, this is a really awkward spot because like I do genuinely want to keep going, but I really feel like if I do, this is gonna go from like a near hour to like a 3-hour episode, and I usually don't like recording those, especially because I know they're hard to watch and sit through, you know. So we'll wait. We'll wait, but it's intense. So let's just enjoy what we covered so far and dive into the craziness next week. Thank you so much. Hope you don't mind. And until the next video, watching me, see me next. I'll see you there.